What's up, YouTube? I got another custom build for you, and it's another Ghostbusters one. And this is a pair of Ghostbusters from Ghostbusters 1 from 1984. And a little background on this. So, I've been kind of going back and forth wanting Ecto goggles for a while now, and it's really hard to find a kit. Sort of the main supplier of Ghostbuster costume pieces, GB fans, they have a couple odds and ends, but they don't actually carry Ecto goggles. They have a listing for the Mattel Ecto goggles that are no longer in production, that are A, stupid expensive right now, B, not accurate, C, something I already own. So I wanted something that looked to be a bit more out of the movie, so something closer to the actual prop. And the actual prop was made from a pair of 1970s, 1980s era night vision goggles. And they're still available on eBay from time to time. I was actually just watching a pair. They can be pretty expensive, though. I've seen them going recently for around $1,500, sometimes more, sometimes less, but they're generally pricey. And then you still have to get the other parts, so like the lenses, the microscope lenses. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of cost to it, and I love Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbuster props, but for me, it's not quite the same as Star Wars, where I have to have, or really want to try to have, things that are as accurate as possible. In terms of Ghostbusters, I'm pretty content with what I call good enough. So I started looking around at options, and one of the options was good old Hollywood collectibles. And after the debacle, I'll say, that was the trap, between its sort of unacceptable ship quality, to also finding out that they just simply recast somebody else's work, and I kind of decided that I was done with Hollywood collectibles, and I wanted to really stick to that, because I think, especially in the prop making community, recasting isn't acceptable. Whether or not you hold a license, somebody put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to do the research. So if you hold the license to it, you need to do your research too. So I'm going to get off my soapbox. And so I ended up finding this kit. So this is by actually a UK maker who goes by Epic Props UK. And it comes as a really raw kit. But I have to say, it was a good kit. The cast was super clean. It required really very little cleanup. It came with most of the parts that you need. And really, as it stands, you could really just kind of assemble it and say that you have a pretty decent pair of Ecto goggles. There were some things that I added to it to try to make it a little bit more screen accurate. So, for instance, I was able to get a cheap pair of the actual straps from the night vision goggles, and you can get them on eBay for like $18 because they were so common. It's really not hard to find these straps. The kit itself does come with straps, but those are more like modern webbing with clips. So I figured go the extra mile and just add that really cheap upgrade. Another thing that it doesn't come with are the little dials here that are supposed to be on the lenses, and all I did was I found thumb screws. I got thumb screws from China. I want to say it was $5 for a package of 5. So it was super cheap. They were shipped to me ahead of schedule. And yeah, that worked out really well. I was super pleased with the way they turned out. I also got a set of metallic decals off of an eBay seller. And they were cheap. They were like $10 for Ecto goggle labels. They have a nice brushed metallic look to them. I can't complain. The printing on them's good. The only thing, you have to cut them yourself. So no big whoop there. But I will include in the link in the description below links to all the things that I purchased. So in case anybody wants to make their own Ecto goggles, and I will also include the paint, because in terms of spray paint, I think this is really, really close to what you see on screen. I looked at a bunch of different types of paints, Rust-Oleum. I ended up settling on this Krylon. I just happened upon it in the store. I was like, oh my god, that looks perfect. And when I matched it to a few pictures that I had saved of the actual night vision goggles, and it looked super close. So I was really happy with that. And then the rest is just like satin black, some aluminum silver, and then like a dark gray for the knobs. I do have a new knob coming in that's actually off of an actual set of night vision goggles. It's actually like a battery cover, but I figured that was just a cheap upgrade that I could do that would make it a tiny bit more accurate. So those parts, so like this part here, the cover that comes with it looks to be 3D printed, but the majority of the parts on here are cast resin. And the cast resin and fiberglass of the frame is incredibly thick. So I don't think I have to worry about these things breaking anytime soon. They have a pretty good weight to them. The hardest part was none of the holes come pre-drilled for any of the buttons or the screws, so you do have to try to find reference material for the goggles to figure out where all the screws go. And it's pretty easy. There are a reasonable number of pictures available online, at least of the night vision goggles. It's really hard finding good reference material for the Ecto goggles, though. That's surprisingly difficult. There are some blurry stills from the film, but it's really difficult to find anything good. So I kind of did the best that I could when it came to label placement. Found a couple reference pictures of that. Used some pictures of actual night vision goggles. Like the one that I found, there's this battery sticker over here, and it just seems to be sort of haphazardly thrown on there. So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I don't have to worry too much about it going in a really specific uniform place. It can just kind of be applied. Another really minor upgrade that I did was the padding on the back. So the kit itself came with a piece of foam, and it was fine. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just a piece of foam. So I'm like, the actual goggles are supposed to have sort of like a puffy leather liner. Maybe there's a way that I can fake that. So I went to a craft store, and for like $7 got this really soft material that looks like leather. And then I cut out the shape that I wanted, and then I used it's like a double-sided tape that you use for stitching clothes, for stitching fabric, and just use that to adhere the material to the foam. And then I use that same double-sided tape to stick it to the goggles on the inside. And then the lenses themselves, I just hot glued in. So nothing fancy on the inside there. Honestly, I'm hoping to be able to use these if there are ever conventions again. I would like to be able to wear these to a convention. I know they're not 100% screen accurate, but I think they're pretty good. They're definitely much larger than the Matty Collectibles one. They have much more accurate details and dimensions compared to the Spirit Halloween ones. So, to be honest, I'm not sure what this is derived from. I think possibly a 3D print, like a readily available 3D print model that has been cleaned up, altered, and cast, but I don't know that for sure. But overall, it looks pretty good. And again, with the kind of added details, the little screws, the really close paint, I think for the price, which ended up being, I would estimate under $160. You can't beat it, especially compared to commercially available ones, which are going for about $400 right now. And I would suspect that they are of dubious quality. If anybody happens to have the Hollywood Collectibles Ecto goggles on order or in their possession, I would love to see them. I'm very curious, but yeah, those are my Ecto goggles. So, like I said, I will put links in the description to the prop maker's website as well as the eBay auctions where I was able to get these extra parts as well as the spray paint that I used. So, as usual, thanks for watching. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to leave a comment and ask them. I really do try my best to answer, especially like really thoughtful comments that want to know about the props and the process. I really do my best to respond to those. So thanks again.